Hey, everybody. This is John Michael Salvato. For those who don't know me, he might be watching this on the rebroadcast. This is kind of a special broadcast. It's not our regular Inner Alchemy program, nor is it our Beyond Medicine broadcast. It's kind of a combination of everything in the midst of what's going on. Let me go ahead and turn comments on and check all of our appropriate branding and contact information and all that stuff. So, thank you, first of all, for everybody who has been sending their warm wishes as I get over this infection myself, and that is the topic of our conversation today. I thought I would go live because I know that this is really impacting a lot of people, especially some of the folks that are on my friends list, who remain on my friends list, because they kind of fall into uh, almost a pattern of either mystics or spiritual seekers, healers, empaths, wellness professionals, and of course, the greatest portion of my friends list, those who are involved in the occult, witches and practitioners of magic. And so during this time, I think there are a lot of things that we're dealing with, a lot of stuff that we could talk about. And so I encourage you guys too, if you're watching, to join the conversation, and we will make this as interactive as we can. Today, unfortunately, on Saturday, the 21st of March, at 1:30 in the afternoon, we are at 19,624 cases confirmed of the coronavirus in the United States. I want to start by pointing something out to that. If you're relying on the Center for Disease Control stats, or you're relying even worse on the federal government for your stats or the news, I would highly recommend that you do a Google search for the Johns Hopkins University stats. The raw data from the CDC gets to Johns Hopkins and the World Health Organization before the Trump administration has a chance to suppress some of those numbers. So you'll always see that the numbers on the CDC website, unfortunately, lag behind in terms of the real data, because they're not being allowed to update that website in real time. So look at the Johns Hopkins numbers right now. Like I said, we are unfortunately at 19,624 cases. I really wanted to start by thanking all of the healthcare workers out there again, and the folks that are putting themselves in harm's way on a daily basis in the absolute worst of conditions, when we as a nation are dropping the ball, and we're not providing them with what they need to protect themselves so that they can help and protect us. So my heart goes out to every healthcare worker, and all of the support staff. We talk about the nurses and the doctors and the PAs and the CNAs, but let's recognize that all of the people that are working in those hospitals under the worst of conditions are heroes. They're from the person who cleans the room, to the person who is doing triage, to the person who is primary caregiver, and he kind of beat me to the punch, as my brother says that this flight attendant appreciates you. I want to next talk about some of those other essential roles that exist. Those people in essential roles, like my brother Tier. So those who are flight attendants, those who are working in the airports, those who are working at grocery stores, drugstores, we really appreciate you too. And so, first of all, our hearts go out to all of those people, and that kind of brings me to kind of the idea that that prompted this morning. Excuse me. I woke up thinking about a very close friend of mine, a brother at arms in the midst of the AIDS pandemic, Michael Callan. Some of you might recognize that name. He was in the movie Philadelphia. He died actually before the movie debuted, but he he was part of a musical group, but he also was the co-founder of the People Living with AIDS Coalition, an organization I was part of in the early days of the pandemic. And Michael, along with Marsha Malamet um, and I apologize, another one of those that we lost in the pandemic. I don't remember who their third co-writer was. Wrote a song called "Love Don't Need a Reason," and I shared it on my timeline earlier this morning. And that was playing in my heart, playing in my head as I woke up. And that just sort of reminded me that that was connecting me with all of the other folks who have empathic uh, gifts. And so to the empaths out there, I want to say especially, this will be a difficult time for you in exercising your gifts and serving humanity, just as it will be for the healthcare workers and the essential workers in all of the other fields out there. And there are some things that you can do to sort of protect yourself. And one of those things is to mindfully raise your breath. And when I say that, what I mean is that as you breathe in the healing, you breathe in that universal energy, that source, whatever name you know it by. But as you breathe out, begin to visualize the breath coming out the top of your head. And there is, just above the crown chakra, there is a place called the Chittakash. And that's the heart space over the head. It's the true heart, some would say. It's where the divine masculine, divine feminine merge. And it is that place from which we can best serve humanity, regardless of whether we're empathic or not. You see, the heart space over the head is a place where the ego is disengaged from the service. And my guru, Majaya Sati Bhagavati, would teach us that as we were serving in the hospices, as we were serving in the county homes, as we were serving on the streets, that we needed to stay in that heart space over the head, especially if we were empathic. Because that is a place of pure service. So the ego is disengaged, the ego is not involved, we're not projecting onto ourselves. It's not about us, it's about the person we're serving. But it also gives us that place, that space to be able to continue to breathe and to be able to drink as we pour. See, we're able to draw on that universal energy when we're not being wrapped up in what if that were me? What if that were my sister? What if that were my brother? What if that were my father or mother or aunt? And so it's really an important thing to practice. And I saw in one of the other discussion groups, and thank you, Andrea. Thank you for everything that you're doing as well. I saw in one of the other discussion groups this morning a discussion about Tonglen, in which we breathe in the suffering and pain of others, and we breathe out peace. We breathe out healing. And so if there are anybody that are interested in that, I talk about that in my book, in Mental Mastery. But if there's anybody who's interested in understanding that, maybe I'll do an excerpt from the book on my blog later on today, so that you guys can see the technique and begin to use that technique to disengage the ego, but to protect ourselves. You know, some of the other things you can do. I was just speaking to my friend Andrea, whose comment was on the screen, and she makes a wonderful potion that contains the essence of violets, and that can be very protective during this particular period of time. And so there are things that we can do. And so healers and mystics and witches and activists, whatever you happen to do, people who are spiritual, people who are medical practitioners, people who are serving the public in every way, make sure that at this time you drink as you pour. You're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're nurturing yourself. Don't let yourself get caught up in this nonsense that we see so many metaphysical practitioners get caught up in where they tell you that that this is a disease of fear, and so as long as you're not fearful, you're not going to get infected. I can tell you right now, I don't fear disease. As a medical professional, as a metaphysician, I don't fear disease. I understand disease. And yet that wasn't enough to prevent me from getting COVID-19. And so it's not going to be enough for you either. So let's put this nonsense that should have been dispelled when some of the Wiccan practitioners and New Age practitioners and New Thought practitioners were kind of made aware of their folly when they started to advance such nonsense. Let's put this aside. Yes, disease all stems from an imbalance in our thought processes. When our thoughts and our way of seeing and engaging in life is unhealthy, disease can set in. But once that disease sets in, changing your thinking is not enough. Once you've allowed the condition to take place on a physiological basis, then we have to address the physiology while we address the mental issues, while we move ourselves from fear to love, while we move ourselves from hostility to forgiveness. And so, particularly for the empaths, let's be aware of that we're helping a person move from fear to love, but we also have to support the physiological stuff that's going on. And so that kind of brings me to the fifth point that I wanted to share with you guys today, and that is a word about medical advice. I know that most people who are posting on social media are posting from a place of compassion. They're posting from a place of wanting to be helpful. They're posting from a place of really wanting to be of the greatest of service to one another. And so when you see something and you say, hey, my friend just posted this, they have a friend who's a doctor, this is what the doctor had to say. If you don't actually know that that person is a legitimate medical practitioner, if you don't know that that person has bona fides, that that person has a legitimate basis for the things that they're saying, then you really shouldn't share it. If you're not sure of the source, do not share it. If you're not sure of the science behind it, do not share it. There are medical professionals out there who have legitimate medical licenses who are telling people to do things that are absolutely fucking insane. So let's exercise a little bit of restraint in that way. And to those who are not medical professionals, I've seen people who are posting crap all over the place about come join this webinar, learn how to boost your immune system. Come join this this discussion group and learn about this magical fruit drink and how it's going to make you healthier and make you immune to viruses and bacteria. Come use this magical hand lotion and it'll protect you for 12 hours. And that kind of predatory behavior just absolutely fucking disgusts me. It's so predatory. It's so vile when we're in the beginning of a pandemic. And let me back up for 1 second. And let's not kid ourselves into thinking that we're in the midst of a pandemic. We haven't even approached the middle. When you see news stories, and again, new age type people with that toxic positivity who say, oh, look, all of the cases are gone in China and they haven't had any new cases. And let's remember that we understand the epidemiology a little bit better than that within the medical community. And so the chances of relapse are really great. There's going to be a 1 to 2 month break before China starts to see relapses. Now, China, I think, will see a lot less relapse than the rest of the world because China used those really strictly enforced, almost concentration camp type isolation approaches that the rest of the world did not do. And so I think they'll see a smaller amount of relapse there, but we know that this virus relapses. I'm proof of that. There are so many other people out there that are proof. So we are not in the middle of a pandemic. In fact, be prepared because in the next 5 days, you're going to see these numbers reach 30,000, 40,000, maybe 45,000 cases in the United States. And it's going to happen because of the irresponsibility, the lack of proper response from our government. It's going to happen because so many folks are ignoring this and saying it's just like a bad flu, and they're still going to the beaches, they're still hanging out at the store. The Home Depot and Lowe's and all those other places are packed. this weekend because people are getting stir crazy. People are whining that their restaurants and their jobs are putting them on furlough right now. And I understand that financially it's very scary when your source of income stops without any warning, especially when you live from paycheck to paycheck. But don't bitch that you're being asked to stay home for a short period of time. Just start to use that time in a productive way. Make sure you're calling your representatives and saying, I demand that we approach this with a people first approach. Let's make sure that nobody falls through the cracks. Let's make sure that the worker is taken care of before the major company is bailed out. And so we can use this time productively. and back to the medical advice that's out there. You know, some folks have been asking me, and I want to apologize because I really am conflicted in this particular regard. There are people. Good morning, Deb. Good afternoon, whatever it is. Yeah, there are people out there who are posting all of this nonsense about magic bullet approaches. And there are no magic bullet approaches. And people have asked me how it is that I'm doing so well. And I've had some incredible results in boosting my own immune system to try and recover from this. But the reason I'm not sharing that with you has nothing to do with selfishness. It has nothing to do with trying to keep a secret what it is that I'm doing. It has to do with the fact that I cannot, in good faith, in consciousness, and ethically, cannot tell you to go out and do exactly what I'm doing because it's going to help you or somebody you love get over the COVID-19 virus or protect your immune system or anything else. I can't tell you that because we don't understand the virus enough for me to be able to make that sort of a statement ethically. So the results that I've gotten in increasing my CD4, my T cell count dramatically over a period of 2.5 weeks, that will be 2.5 weeks tomorrow, is anecdotal evidence. There is no conclusive proof that what I'm doing is responsible for that right now because we don't understand the virus, we don't understand the mechanism, we don't understand what all the other mitigating factors might be. So please just exercise caution when you're sharing stuff on social media. You know, I know that a lot of the people that are doing workshops and webinars who have no medical background and should really be shutting up at this time are doing it because they want to help. But you're not helping when you tell somebody that taking probiotics is going to prevent them from or reduce their chance of getting this virus. You're doing harm. You're not helping them when you say, take this magic juice drink or this magic pill or this magic anything else to boost your immune system. You might want to help, but you're doing harm. Until we know the mechanisms, until we understand this virus better, it would be best letting people do the things that really make all of the difference in research, in science, in study, in gathering the data. And so there is anecdotal evidence out there that a lot of different things could be helping. Right now, a great example of that is that Deb just talked about a product that's helping her to sleep better. So it's helping her as a nurse practitioner to treat patients better. There are a lot of legitimate things out there that are happening like that. But see, what you don't see is you don't see Deb going out there and doing a webinar and saying this is going to stop you from getting COVID-19 because she knows better and because she has the ethics that say, hey, my anecdotal evidence is good information to share. I could tell you how that same product boosted my T cell count and is really helping me to, I think, to heal faster, but it's anecdotal evidence. And so we're exercising caution in sharing that with everybody out there. I'm happy to talk with people privately. I'm just not comfortable doing that on social media by making blanket statements. And so next, I want to talk to those folks who are displaced workers, because I understand that when your income has suddenly ended, or when there's no certainty how long your income may be affected, and the side effects, the snowball that happens as our jobs lay us off, and so people are forced to be home, and entire families have no more income, and the bills continue to come. I understand that that will cause a great deal of financial stress. It'll cause financial damage. It'll have a snowball effect on every aspect of our lives. And so it's really important right now that each and every one of us that are adults not only take care of ourselves, not only take care of those who are at risk, like the elderly, those with compromised immune systems, those with underlying health issues, but let's also remember kids. Because right now, the children in our world may not fully understand what's going on. And a lot of those children are empathic themselves. A lot of them are indigos. A lot of them are sensitive to the energy all around them, as most children generally are. And one of the things that we can do that's so critically important is to make sure that we let those kids know that they're safe. Let those kids know that even if we seem a little bit stressed and a little bit crazy at times because of the fear of what's going on, let's make sure that if you live in a household with kids, that the news isn't on all day. Let's make sure that we take time to let those kids know that we love them, and let those kids know that it's safe, and let those kids know that we have to stay inside right now to protect ourselves from sickness, but that we can still connect with one another. You know, we live in an incredible time during the plague, and when people were forced to isolate, they didn't have the option of jumping on FaceTime or Zoom or jumping on something like this. And so what we, as I have to share this because I'm a little bit of a doting brother who has certainly got favorites in my life, as I think most of us do. My baby sister, another healthcare professional, says, "You're so right. All we can do is stay calm and take care of the now." And that's such great advice. And Janine, I'm so freaking proud of you. And I love you and I miss you. And it's true. The only thing we can do right now is to let, especially our children know, but let one another know that right here and right now we're okay. And let's be grateful for that, because there are no guarantees. You know, that we may be healthy tomorrow. There are no guarantees that people that we love may not be affected and that we may not lose them. Because guys, I'm telling you right now, we are not in the midst of a pandemic. We are at the beginning of the pandemic. You know, it's really easy to say, well, okay, so if we stay inside, this is going to go away. It's not going to go away. We're looking at about 18 months, according to most of the data right now, before this really begins to reach a point where we have a handle on it and it's under control. And the coming week is going to be one of those, the next 10 days is going to be one of those most critical times when we're going to see people all around us start to become unglued. We've already seen the ridiculous behavior of running to the store and buying toilet paper like it was going out of style. And I can tell you that having had 2 episodes of COVID-19, the last one being the most virulent, that I didn't get the shits once, that I didn't use more than my share of toilet paper one single time. So stop running to the store and buying toilet paper. Don't buy all the hand sanitizer either, because if you have it all, that means everybody else doesn't, and you're making the world less safe. And so let's just remember that as things start to look like they're unraveling all around us, as things start to look like they're less safe all around us, that we have to maintain that presence and staying in the moment, and recognize that science will always be more important than the emotional response, and that we can focus on science. We can tune out the lies and the disinformation that 45 is spewing from the podium, and listen to Dr. Anthony Fauci. Andrea says, this is a great opportunity also to slow down and teach the little ones the magic of making meals together, planting plants for spring and summer, ordering seeds online and sharing the bounty with those in need down the line. Yeah, we can do, thank you for that, Andrea. We can do so many things for the little ones in our lives and in our families. Remember, again, we've got this great benefit of technology that allows us to reach out. We can take those opportunities to really show them what it means to be a community, what it means to exercise compassion. Dr. Cannon says, so grateful at 66 to be able to still help treat affected patients, even though we don't have PPE, the protective gear and masks and everything in the hospitals where she's at right now. And again, Deb, I'm just so grateful for you and for all of the people. There are too many medical professionals, healthcare professionals in my friends list for me to name them all, but every single one of you lives in my heart and in my thoughts every single day. And so, there are things we could do for mental health. I am absolutely committed to getting more content, more articles up on the blog, on mentalwellnessmovement.org and on drsalvato.com. I'm going to make every effort to keep some positive flow of information, of good science out there for you guys. If you haven't been to the site, to mentalwellnessmovement.org, there is a really good article, I think, right now that kind of unpacks what the Imperial College in London had to say about the three possible outcomes. They used a scientific approach and an algorithm that looked at what could happen. If you haven't done so, go to mentalwellnessmovement.org, click on the blog. I think it's called the Mental Wellness Journal, and the first article there should be an article that I think will be really helpful putting this into perspective. You're welcome, Matt, and thank you for all of the things that you do and for being an example of somebody, one of the first ones to reach out to me, knowing that I was dealing with COVID-19 and asking if you could go to the store for me. That will that will live on in my heart and mean something to me. And so, if you go to that blog, we'll try to keep information up there. We'll try to make sure that the information we share is always, cutting edge and updated. That's why I don't post too much on there, because as the science continues to deepen and to, and to expound, to unfold, we find out some of the things we might have thought yesterday are different today. And so, I'm really making sure that before we put something up there, it's something we can be pretty confident is good, definitive information. Let's see, Janine says, I will continue to take care of my fellow neighbors. I get asked, are you scared? My answer is no. I know the professionals are doing everything they can to help fight this virus. Being scared will only weaken ourselves. Great advice again. Let's remember that this fear weakens our immune system. Fear triggers elevation of cortisol, and there are things that we can do to protect ourselves holistically in terms of functional foods, boosting our gut microbiome and making sure that we reduce cortisol levels. And again, I'm more than happy to talk with you guys about those things if that's something that you feel would be helpful for you, but I'll do it privately. I'm not comfortable joining the cacophony of medical advice and holistic advice and everything else that's being spewed on here in ways that it's being said that it's curative or that it's preventative, because that just isn't legitimate. It's not ethical. And so I just want to say, if we all just stay in our lane, if we all, worry about ourselves and our loved ones and doing the right thing and being there for one another, then we're going to be in the best position possible. If you are timid and shy and afraid of making a political statement, and you see somebody else making a political statement on their Facebook wall, especially if you're a medical professional, do not step on their post and tell that person that they need to stop, that we all need to get along, and all your other Rodney, I forget what his last name was, bullshit about can't we all get along. This isn't second grade. If you're a medical professional, then you are most likely, like me and like everyone else in the healthcare field, are disgusted when you see disinformation, dangerous information being given in some of these daily press conferences that go that are contrary to everything Dr. Fauci has just said. You sometimes moments after he said it, you see 45 stand up there and bullshit and lie to the American people and say things that are dangerous, that are putting us at further risk. One of the reasons why we have 19,624 confirmed cases in this country, and let's put this in perspective. Epidemiologically, we see a mathematical formula that usually unfolds in a pandemic. You'll see that the same rate of growth that happened in China happened in Italy and happened in Spain and is happening elsewhere in the world. The United States is 3 days ahead of that curve, meaning 3 days worse, where it was every 3 days that we saw the numbers double in Italy as of the current moment. In the United States, it's every 2 days, a little bit more than 2 days, but it's closer to 2 days that we see the cases double. So that's what happens when you have an irresponsible piece of shit in the Oval Office lying to people. So stay in your lane, and if somebody wants to complain about that on their wall, that's their business and that's their right. And for those of us that are in the health and wellness field, in many cases, that's our response to the oath that we took to do no harm. That when we see somebody doing harm, we need to call them out. And so to those whose toxic positivity is all about, oh, let's just get along, fuck you for the moment, and let's just all protect one another. Because the last thing, the 10th piece that I wanted to share with you guys is that we are going as a nation and as a world to have to deal with a great deal of death. You know, I went through the worst of the AIDS pandemic in the 80s and 90s. I lost 108 friends within the 80s. I know what it's like to lose loved ones too young, too soon, and too many. And I can tell you that what I'm seeing in this pandemic right now tells me that we are going to, if you haven't already been affected, as some of us have, that you're going to be affected. And people that you know are going to die. It's unfortunate. I wish that was wrong. I wish I wish there was some kind of magic bullet to make that statement untrue. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And the only way that we're going to get through this is to be there for one another. The only way that we're going to deal with the death is to be there for those who are suffering loss. And so I encourage you guys to take time to self-care, to self-nurture, to drink as you pour, like I said earlier in the week. And to take time to connect like this, to reach out to the folks that might not have anyone else to talk to. And don't waste your time saying that this is just being hyped by the media, because all the media is doing is reporting the truth and exposing the lies that come from high above. My sister just said, amazing advice. I love you. And you all remember, we're brothers and sisters. Let's form together and fight against the virus, not one another. Right on. I love you too, Janine. And Matt says, absolutely. It feels like it's coming again. No doubt we're going to get through it. We're going to go through it, and we're going to get through it. I'll tell you that. I love you guys, and I wouldn't do this if it weren't for the fact that that I do genuinely love and care about everybody that's on my friends list, especially now that I got rid of 3,000 people. And we will, and I do believe we'll prevail. And I do believe there are things we can do to help one another, to help the kids, to support one another, to do better. And so that's what I wanted to encourage of you guys, today. And I hope that you'll hang out, that you'll keep on tuning in, that you'll let yourself take some time away from the news and just relax and do something. In most cases, it's safe for you to go outside for a little bit and just let the sun shine on you. In my particular situation, even though I live in the city, to just be able to go outside my front door and ground and breathe in something besides household air is so relaxing. And that's how I like to start every single day, even when I was really sick. And I do get stronger every single day. So let's take that time. Let's take the time to do what we can to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others, to take care of others, especially the little ones, to prepare ourselves for the worst, but to know that through it all, we're going to prevail. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be a walk in the park by any means. It's going to be painful. It's going to get messy. But there are things we can do along the way to support one another in that process, to be there for one another, even when we don't have an answer, when we lose someone, to just be present to one another. And we'll be doing some other things, for within the pagan community. Those of us that we're scheduled to be doing conferences and workshops and conventions. We're getting ready to announce this coming week a lot of things, a lot of programs we're doing. We're going to be doing the Inner Alchemy Conference, where we'll be bringing 5 great teachers to the to a platform where everybody can tune in. Tickets will be really inexpensive, and you'll get 5-6 hours of really great classes to kind of just give us a little break from the news, to help remind us of that magical path that so many of us are on. We're also going to be doing, I'll be doing workshops during the week that I normally reserve for paying students, but I feel like it's time that I really have to give back and do this freely. And so for folks who have small businesses, folks who maybe you don't have a small business, maybe you're just affected by job layoffs and stuff, we're going to share some ideas on how to use social media so that you can begin to generate some income, and we can support one another in ways that we may have never thought about before. So I'll be sharing some of that information, sharing some ideas on how to use Facebook pages and things that are free that you can start working with right now to create some solutions financially and to be able to connect with one another in ways that are deeper and more powerful than ever before. I'll also be talking a little bit more about things we can do to protect ourselves health-wise, to protect ourselves mental health-wise, to protect our little ones, and I'll be sharing some of that stuff as well. And then we're putting together a platform, the mentalwellnessmovement.org. The movement itself is going to put together a platform. We've gotten tired of hearing the empty promises from companies out there that say they're going to build a platform, that they're all about platforms and people and products, and then they really focus on nothing more than selling their products. We are going to create that platform so that there is a place where we can take time away and breathe and remember to meditate and remember to get out there and have some fun, even in the midst of difficult times. And Veretta, thank you so much. I love you as well. And I feel the same way. I feel the same way about every one of you. I'm so glad that each one of you are in my life. And I want that to be the case for a long time. So guys, stay in the moment and be grateful for what you've got. I know it can be difficult when shit's happening like it's happening right now. But when we bring that gratitude to the moment, when we remind ourselves that we're safe right now, and it doesn't matter what might happen in the future, that if we're safe right now, we can allow ourselves to recharge so that we're stronger when those more difficult moments come. And always remember, always believe that the best is yet to come. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. I love you.